Hello everyone, welcome to Scholar Opportunity Nexus, and then we are starting a series on programming language. We are starting with Python. But then the very first step is everybody who is doing programming, right? Everybody wants to program, everybody wants to learn to code. It's very fascinating to see behind the computer and see people doing work. And you wish that you could do that, right? Yeah. You need to start with the basics, right? Some of you are seeking for understanding what actually goes into programming, what it actually is, right? So this series is going to take its time. We are going to move at the 30 pace, the pace of someone that is a very beginner, to understand every single term, every single item that will add to a particular code in order to make it run, right? So for this very first series, we want to introduce you to what programming actually is. Let us see what programming actually is. Yeah, people are saying programming, but let's start with the basics. Understand what that thing is before we delve into going to program. Yes, I believe that you've attended some event before, right? You've attended some event before, like church or birthday party or a conference. So if you attended something like that before, you'll see that it has it is done in particular order. In the introduction or the beginning, these people will come and sing, and after that, maybe if it's in church, the pastor will come and say this, and after that there will be another thing, there will be offering, there will be this, there will be that in a particular order, and then they'll be introducing, oh, now this person will now go to this session, then now we'll go to this session, right? So all that put together, all that thing that has been ordered to make sure that they give you a particular service or they render a particular product to you is a program, right? Yeah, that's the same thing that computers are also doing. Or let's look at an alarm, either on your phone or the one that we are just seeing here. So you see that you can set an alarm to 7 a.m., right? So the alarm will be waiting, be checking the time each time, checking the time when it is 7 a.m. Then it begin to buzz or ring, right? Yeah. So because a lot of things goes behind it to make sure that that thing becomes a program for you to use. So a program provides a particular service to you. Even on our mobile phones, you see there are a lot of apps, there are a lot of applications that we are using. So if you go into the application is a program, right? Behind it, there are a lot of things that have been put together in order to give you that service, right? That's a program. So those are programs in all, and that's what program is, right? Now, what do you think programming will be? So if those things that we have that render a particular service to us are programs, then what do you think programming is? Programming is the process of building those programs, right? So if you are programming, meaning you are going to build a program. So programming is just a steps, the thing that you go through, or whatever you go through, to the process that you go through to come out with the program. That's what we call programming. Basically, that's it. But here we are going to focus on computer programming, not the church programming, not the your conference programming, but we are going to computer programming. Meaning, whatever we are going to build is going to be built for mobile phone, built for computers, built for calculators, built for something electronic that has to associate with computer or something smart, right? That's what programming is. So we are going to focus on computer programming, right? Programming is what the process of building programs, right? If you are building a program, then the process you are going to do that is programming. Wait, we are programming to come out with a program, right? Many we are programming, something should happen. So we say that the alarm, for example, and that follows some particular steps, right? Check the time every time. Whenever there's a new hour or there's a new minute, you be checking the time, When the particular time that has been given to bars comes, then it will ring, right? Meaning the computer is always checking something, always going through some steps, right? So after building a program, you put a lot of instructions behind it, right? The instruction you give to that program to render that service, all those instructions are called algorithm. So yes, the steps that you follow to render a service, the steps that you follow to render a service, so the specific steps that you put together. Okay, check the time. When it's another second, check the time. Check the time. If the time is the same as the one that I've given you to the time that I've given you to bars. If it is that time, ring. If it is not, continue checking, continue checking. So you have given the computer a particular process or particular steps. All the steps that you give to it, that's what we call the algorithm. Okay, that's it. So between programming and programs, there are instructions that are given, there are steps that are followed. Those steps that are followed by the program that you have built is called algorithm. Basically, that's it, right? So when we are going to do that, meaning you have to be ready to be able to tell your computer, to be able to give algorithm to your computer, or to be able to give instruction to your computer, or to the program that you are building. Okay, I've been talking about giving to the computer and this and that, but how will I communicate with the computer? How will computer understand what I want it to achieve for me? How um how is that possible, right? Because we have been hearing that computers only understand zeros and ones, right? So we need to come out with a language that computers should understand for us to make our programs through programming using algorithm. Yes. So here comes something helpful: programming language. There are a lot of programming language that have been built already. So these are languages that you can use to communicate with the computer. It's just like how I'm speaking with you now in English, right? That's a language that you and I understand. Or a language that if you go to France, right, they speak their language, right, for all of them to understand and do something. If you go to the Anglophone country, they do this. If you go to Portuguese, come to Ghana, we have local language that you also speak in our various regions for various purposes, right? So if you come to computers too, computers also behave the same way. There are lots of languages that are there that allow you to communicate as a programmer, right? Allow you to communicate with the computer and then render a particular service or build a particular program, right? So top 10 among them are the ones you are seeing here. They are Python, C++, Java, JavaScript, Rust, PHP. They are all the languages that have been built to be able to communicate with the computer. Okay. So now, that's Python. In this session, we say we are going to focus on Python. There are a lot of reasons for that. We're not going into that today, but then we understand that Python is just a programming language. It's one of the programming language that allow people to communicate with the computer and what, to build a program. Meaning you are going to give instructions to the computer to build a program, right? Yes. So that's what programming languages are. And in our session, we are going to be focusing on Python programming. And I hope that's why we are here, right? Now, communicating with the computer is kind of, how is that even possible? How is that even possible? Computers understand zeros and ones. There are lots of circuits that are built inside. We don't want to go deep into that because we want to understand. We want the very the average person to understand what programming is. So we are not going to much into that. But then we need to understand that computers only understand, the language they understand is zeros and ones, zero and one, zero and one. But zero and one coming together, we don't communicate in zero and one, zero one. How will I be here and you tell me 0011 00? You won't understand anything. But that's what computers understand, right? Through programming languages, you are able to communicate your something that's close to English, right? With the computer, and then that particular programming will be able to convert it. Programming will be able to convert it. There's something built in it that will be able to convert it for the computer to convert or interpret what we are saying to the computer for it to execute the program that you are building. Okay. But then even in every language, there are grammar, right? There are things that there are ways to follow in order to communicate a particular language effectively. We call them syntax. So for every particular programming language, all the programming language, they have their own syntax, meaning they have their own grammar. They have their own way of programming them, or there are particular ways of giving instructions that are acceptable by every programming language. So for every programming language, there's going to be syntax. So when we are talking about syntax, we're just basically meaning the grammar or the way to communicate through that language to the computer. The way to communicate through that language to the computer. That's basically what we mean by syntax. Don't let the example that you're seeing here confuse you or anything. We'll go into that, and in the few sessions, after watching some few series, you'll be able to relate to this, and then prior, you'll be very confident in communicating with the computer effectively, writing effective syntax. So to do all this, like all this blah 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 that we are saying, as in, then what? Where should I start from? Should I just go to anywhere on my computer and just type in? Should I just take my phone or do all that? No, right? A lot of these languages, right? They are not built on your computer. You automatically buy them. So you have to actually install them on your computer devices, right? And then there's an environment where we actually do the coding. You don't just go to your Word, or you don't just go to your um, terminal and just start coding. But then the terminal is very helpful to do that, all right. But there are environments that are built for you to work more effectively in coding or in programming, right? And those environments are called IDEs, integrated development environment. They are built for you. They are software online that give you that platform to be able to communicate with the computer and see a particular output. So it's like it undergoes various series of testing, communicating with the computer, to be running the program, to be running the steps, to be running the instructions for you, right? So there's that environment built already for you. And then popular among them, VS Code. VS Code is one powerful one, right? Then, for example, specifically to Python, right, there are some IDEs that are built for it. For example, PyCharm, Tony, and VS Code is the most popular one that we'll be using, right? And it kind of cover a lot of languages, right? So, but if you have Tony or you have PyCharm, Android Studio is also there. You are good to go. But in this series, we'll be focusing on using VS Code mostly. There are a lot of video series online on YouTube that you can watch to see how to download VS Code, install it, have your Python set in it, right? Yeah, but some people may not be comfortable with that yet, or some people may not have that comfortability of working with this IDE for now as a starter. So there's another alternative to begin with first, before we all move to VS Code. But then in the process where we are going to use another alternative, you have to be getting ready with the VS Code, so that by the time we move to VS Code, all of us are there. But then if you don't have VS Code yet and you want to just start something before you see, and then you put yourself inside and get your lab for the coding, then you have an online GDB for you. So this is the link to that, www.onlinegdb.com. Then if you go there, then you'll be able to have an online environment, online IDE that you can use to interpret and do stuff. And this is the snippet of it, to see how it looks like when you get there. And then we'll be using an online GDB to start, for everyone to get along. And then with time, we will be reminding you to watch videos to be able to download your VS Code or download your Python on your machine, so that by the time we all move from the online GDB to the VS Code, then we are good to go. The online GDB means that it's online, right? You have to spend your data. Yeah, VS Code also comes with data, but it's mostly offline. Once you get it done, then you can run most of the things offline, right? But then, yeah, they require a bit of data, all right? But then take time and then go to the VS Code, and then the online GDB is the environment where we'll be exploring next in the next video, to introduce you to the various ways, introduce you to the platform, and how do you go about it before we actually start building what algorithm. We are building what programs. What are we doing to build the programs? We are programming. And if you are programming, you are called a programmer. See you in the next session.